Hello and welcome everyone, Curtis here. We do have a couple of minutes before go time, so we'll just wait a few minutes here, let everyone settle in, get their bearings, grab a comfy spot, and we'll get this show on the road in about 3 minutes. So stay tuned and I will talk to you soon. All right, we are at the 1 minute warning, so one more minute until we get things rolling. All right, hello, howdy, and hi. A big hearty greeting all the way from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I would say a warm welcome, but unfortunately, it did snow here the other day, so our summer is over. It is not warm here anymore. Winter is coming, but I hope there are sunny skies wherever you are. My name is Curtis Tohaniak, and I am a product expert with Replicon. And today I will be your guide and host on our feature webinar presentation, Remote Challenges Solved with Enhanced Project Time Tracking. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, just do a quick review of our agenda for our program today. So first we'll take a look at an overview of some of the problems that organizations are facing right now with remote time tracking, and then we'll take a peek at how Replicon can solve all of these problems. Afterwards, we will hop into a not so quick demo, a very thorough demo of exactly how Replicon can help you and your organization and show you how everything works so you can see it in action. Then we'll take a look at a couple of different customer transformations, and finally, we will finish off with a Q&A. So just a couple of housekeeping notes before we go any further. Throughout this presentation, you will be on mute, but don't worry, if you have any questions that pop into your brain at any given time, feel free to submit them into the question box at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. Now, if you do submit a question during the webinar and I don't get to it, don't feel like I'm ignoring you, because I'm not. Just trying to keep the flow of everything going. But that being said, if there is any major disasters, maybe my screen turns black, you lose audio, or maybe I am sucked into the void and you can't hear or see anything at all, just let me know, raise your hand, submit a question, and I will fix everything as I can, as quickly as I can, so we can keep things rolling along. So at Replicon, not only do we believe that people's time is a strategic asset, but we believe it is your most important asset. Time is finite. You only have so much available to you, and once it is used up, it is gone. There is no getting it back. So you need to treat time like the precious, precious resource that it is. And exactly how much time do we have at our disposal? Well, that depends at the size of your organization. So with 500 employees, you will have 1.04 million hours available to you in 1 year. And remember that stat because we're going to come back to that 500 employee stat a little bit later. With 5,000 employees, you will have 10.4 million hours available annually. And with 50,000 employees, you will have 104 million hours available to you in 1 year. And if you think about it, that is so much time. It's almost unfathomable how much time that is. And it's way too much for either one person or one department to manage. And what makes this time so difficult to manage? Well, one thing is it is fragmented and tedious. So as you can see with poor Frankie, our Franken system here, he has ERP, CRM, PSA, HCM, payroll, project management, and they all need time information for different things. But unfortunately, not every piece fits into the puzzle quite so elegantly, and this can cause a lot of problems. And then to compound issues even further, right now we have people working remotely, we have people working from home, we have people working from the office, and we have on-premises hardware and on-premises data and databases, which are going to be handcuffing all of our processes just to make things even more difficult. So as we can see, frankly, getting our time data, no pun intended, sorry, getting our time data anywhere intended is next to impossible. And this causes so many challenges. We have so many headaches that can be caused by having inconsistent time data. We have costing and billing delays, low utilization rates, costing and billing errors, inability to plan to any sort of capacity, decreased profitability, and our future pipeline and growth is shrunk. So before we continue, we do want to hear from you folks quickly. So I'm actually going to launch a poll, and this poll you can select all that apply, but we really want to understand how people are using Replicon. So we want to know, what do you use the time tracking data for that you capture in your organization, if you're capturing that data right now. So we have project and job costing, internal client billing, external client billing, time and attendance for payroll, and tracking employee productivity. So get your votes in, and we'll kind of talk about this. This will help me guide a little bit more what we talk about today and understanding what everyone's needs are. Well, it's looking pretty consistent across the board so far. All our votes are for everything. So it looks like you are all in-depth time trackers, which is really important because it's very critical to know how you're using your time and how it affects your organization. So we'll just wait another 10 seconds here. I do appreciate getting in the votes in quick because it saves me from having to ad lib and freestyle while I'm waiting for all these votes to trickle in. So it looks like we are ready to go, and I will end our polling. Thanks for voting. And the results are, well, you all voted for every category. So this will be a good review of how Replicon can help you track your time towards all of these. We're going to be focusing a little bit more on our external client billing, but we also will touch a little bit on internal client billing, project job costing, time and attendance for payroll, and tracking employee productivity. So we do understand in your organizations, you will have a ton of different roles and they all need to use time data for different reasons. You are going to have finance leaders, operations leaders, delivery leaders, resource managers and billing leaders, HR leaders, and they all need to use time for different reasons. But what doesn't change is they need an accurate source to pull all of this time data from. We want our time data to be consistent, and if we're trying to pull information from, say, a spreadsheet that is being passed along from member to member, maybe someone changes something or interprets it something a little bit differently, then this can lead to so many errors and inconsistencies across the board. So we want to give you one consistent source for all of your time data, and that consistent source is the Replicon Time Intelligence Platform, the powerful platform for all of your time tracking needs. So you will hear me say this maybe a couple times, maybe more than a couple times today, but Replicon is so configurable. Every aspect of the platform can be changed and adjusted to meet your organization's specifications. And one of the ways that we can change is through size, so we are scalable. So whether you are that 10-employee startup or that 1 million employee established organization, Replicon can grow and evolve with you, along with your organization. And not only are we able to grow in size, but we are able to grow in locations. So we are global and secure. So regardless of where you have employees on our big planet, we will have a Replicon instance that is set up for all of their specific needs. We have multiple locations, languages, currencies, time zones, holiday schedules, payrolls. The list goes on. So no matter where they are located, Replicon can go along with them. And on top of being global, we are mobile. So we did not just take our desktop platform and simply port it to our mobile app. No, we built our app from the ground up because we know how important time tracking is on the go. Because realistically, waiting till you get home and trying to remember what you did during the day, maybe you keep a manual diary, it's just never going to be as accurate. And you want the data behind your organization in real time. So by putting this powerful tool in the palm of your hands, you can accurately and easily track your time no matter where you are, no matter what you are doing, and no matter what activities you are taking part in. And another way that we make this simple for everyone involved is we employ artificial intelligence within our platform. So all the way from an administration down to the end user, we will have artificial intelligence to do things like streamline processes, answer questions, or even automate some processes along the way. And finally, we are an open source API, which means we are plug and play with your whole ecosystem. So regardless of what information you need to feed into Replicon, or you need Replicon to feed into your other programs, albeit it's going to be mostly time data from Replicon, you can do that easily. We have so many out-of-the-box connectors for different programs, and if not, we can build one for you. So whatever you have going on in your organization program-wise, Replicon plays well and will find a home within your company. So Replicon is a comprehensive suite which is made up of multiple different solutions. So today we will be honing in a little bit more on that time and billing solution, but we do have other solutions that include project time and costing, project resource management, time and attendance and compliance, workforce management, and global paid time off. And if any of these solutions do really pique your interest, feel free to tune in to one of my weekly webinars. Yes, they are hosted by yours truly, and we'll cover all these in a little bit more depth. Otherwise, if you don't want to tune into the webinar, maybe you'd rather get some answers right away, drop me an email and we will get you in touch with the people who can point you in the right direction and show you how Replicon can work for your organization. So here is a quick review of everything that we will see in action today. We're going to take a look at accurate project time tracking. We're going to see how Replicon can help you along with real-time estimates versus actuals. We'll show you how Replicon can maximize billable hours and utilization. We'll enhance your project and resource forecasting. We'll show you how really global, scalable, and mobile-first Replicon is. And finally, we will take a look at our powerful analytics and integrations. So I know everyone is really excited for the demo, but I do have one more poll question for everyone. Again, this information is so valuable for us because we want to understand how everyone is using Replicon or how they intend to use Replicon so that we can make this platform and this experience best for everyone involved. And it allows me to kind of cater our content of the webinar towards kind of what you're looking to hear about. So we want to know, do you track all of your employee hours? Do you track time against billable projects only? Do you track time against both billable and non-billable hours? You track all project and non-project related time. We track time for attendance and do not need the details. So this is going to vary between every organization, but it's kind of good to understand what the benefits of tracking all of your time are, because there's more to your time than just billable projects or billable and non-billable. You can really break your time down, and once you break it down, you can really understand what it is doing for your organization and how you can improve upon this usage of time. So we almost have all of our votes in here, and we will go live with the results in just a second. Again, thank you all for voting and being so studious. And that will be the end. Thank you, thank you. And it looks like we track time against both billable and non-billable hours. So we're actually going to take a look at this tracking time towards billables and non-billables and how you can actually break that down a little bit further. We do have a couple organizations with us today that track all project time and non-project time and just track for attendance. So we're going to explore all these options a little bit further with our demo of the platform. So at Replicon, we know right now there is so much going on in the world, and there is probably a lot of chaos within your organization, trying to figure out how to make everything work, how to streamline everyone's workplace, and how to make everything as efficient as possible. Right now, we are trying to track project time, non-project time, billable hours, non-billable hours, vacation time, expenses, sick time. This all adds up, and it can be a lot for an organization to make this sea change in a short amount of time. So with Replicon, not only do we want to help you track these changes and track these hours, but we want to transform this time information so that you can understand how it is affecting your organization. And one of the ways that we do this is through our dashboards. So our dashboards are the living, breathing culmination of every single point of data that you have entered into the Replicon system. And we can see an example of this here with our company levels of our hours. So we'll be able to track every single hour of work time, every single time off hour, over allocated hours, and our estimated hours for our organization. But we can break these hours down even further to understand which of our time is project versus non-project time. And obviously, we want to be honing in on that project time because that's where we're making our money. And non-project time is necessary, but we want to make that minimum. We want to get everything working towards these projects so we can fit more projects in a year and have more sources of revenue. But once we break this down a little bit further, we can see that 89% is not as favorable as we might have thought initially. So a good organization utilization rate to shoot for is about 70%, which means we are working 70% of our time towards billable hours. But in this instance, you can see even though we had 89% of our time was being used towards project time, 32% of our total time is being used for non-billable hours, 11% is being used for non-project time, and that really eats into our efficiency. And we can see in real time how this affects each and every project within our organization by taking a look at our projects by total hours. So our project analyzer allows us to understand how our hours are affecting each project on an individual level. So right away, we will notice that there are a couple projects that have quite a bit more non-billable time than billable time, such as our dashboarding, our evaluation of billing systems, ironically enough, and our evaluation of financial reporting tools all have a ton of non-billable hours. And very likely these projects are starting to run away from us and might not be so efficient and, well, profitable to our organization. So this is giving us the tools to proactively start making changes and understanding when things are not going so well so that we can fix projects before it gets to the end and we look at things how they ended up and being disappointed with the results. Our goal with Replicon is to allow you to make the best decisions possible in every instance of the project progress. So, if we want to start logging our time towards these projects, we are going to need them in the platform itself. And to make these projects exist, well, we have a few options. So big reveal, Replicon platform. If we have our own project planning program, we can actually import all these projects just like you see here. So as I said before, Replicon is open source API. So if you're using a program like Microsoft Projects, for example, you can create the projects in there, get all the information filled out, and then you can port it directly to Replicon and you don't have to worry about adjusting any of your information. It will all be displayed just like you see here. But if you don't have your own project planning program, that is okay too, because within Replicon, like I said before, we are very configurable and we can do all the changes that we need within the platform itself, and that includes creating a project. So right off the bat, we will be given a host of information that we could sort through. We can change our program, our billing type. We can allocate between specific clients. We can change our billing rate time period, time and expense entry, and total contract value. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. Because after we have created these projects, we will actually be given a host more of information that we can parse through. We know right now that things are pretty volatile and what a project looks like today might be different tomorrow. It might be different next week. In a month, it might look a little bit different. Maybe next quarter, this project is going to be totally different from how it started. So we want to be able to keep up with all these changes. So our projects are very flexible. So even after they've been created, we can change different metrics like cost type, time and expense entry, invoice currency, total contract value, estimated hours, cost and expenses. We can update these as this project evolves over time. So regardless of what's happening in our organization or the world, we can be sure that Replicon can be flexible and will be able to adapt to our ever-changing needs. And to better understand how we will be entering information towards these projects, it's good to take a look at how they are structured within the platform. And at the top of our project tree, we have our programs. And our programs are the larger initiatives within an organization. These programs can contain as many projects as you need, or like with sales and business development and our lonely administration, they only have one project, but it's whatever makes sense for you. And then from there, we can also go ahead and change all of our table settings. Tables are something that are very common within Replicon. We can sort through these, make things appear, disappear, whatever we need visible, we can have available to us. And once we set those settings, we can sort through the different metrics to find exactly what we're looking for. And maybe in this instance, I am looking through my number of projects and I see business intelligence practices. That is a lot of projects. I wish I could understand more. Replicon, can you help me out? Well, yes, it can. Because if you see this lovely light blue font here, that usually means we can drill down and we will be given a host of information on things like hours, cost, billing, and resources on this project or program. But we can also drill down a little bit further. And just like we saw before, we'll have a table with all of our project information. And depending on my permissions within the platform, I might be able to only see my projects, or I have administration access so I can see all projects in progress. I'll be able to see all completed projects and all of our archived projects. And this is so important because one, it's your organization's information, so you should have access to it. But two, this also allows you to better plan projects in the future. So maybe there was a time of volatility in the past where you were trying to plan projects, and we can go review those projects, see how we use our resource utilization, how much we spent, how things were organized. And then if that was successful or maybe not so successful, we can build upon that. So by understanding what worked in the past and what didn't work in the past, we can build upon the present and the future and really allow our projects to thrive and be successful. Because every single project that we work on is going to be a step, it's going to be a learning tool, and we want to give you access to all of that. So archive projects won't count in towards all those stats that we saw previously, but if there's anything again that I want to sort through, I'll be actually given quite a bit more options for my table settings with these projects. And maybe again, something piques my interest, like I'll see, ooh, financial data reporting fixes. We have a ton of hours logged towards this. I want to find out more. And again, I'll be able to drill down on a project level to understand hours, cost, and billing. And I can also take a look at my billing versus cost and my actuals versus estimated billing, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, again, whatever makes sense. And all this information is updated in real time. So anytime we put an hour towards this project, we will see the results of this in these charts here. And again, this is so important because we have these real-time estimates and actuals, and this can better help us understand how a specific project is doing. So we could see late 2018, early 2019, things were going along handsomely. We could see billing was high, estimated billing was a lot lower than our actual billing, and this means we were probably making a healthy profit on this project. But one quick look at our histogram can show us on the bottom that things may not always be that way. And we can take a little speedy look into the future and see there were some volatile weeks where we weren't working on this project, or maybe our estimated billing was a lot higher than our actual billing. And these are good indicators that things need to start being corrected before things get too dire. So again, by having insight into these real-time actuals versus estimates, we can better understand how we need to shape our projects, if we can continue along the same trends, or if things need to be quickly halted and switched around. Maybe we're using less resources, maybe we're using less expensive resources. Whatever the case may be, our Replicon will give us insight into every project in real time. But that being said, we don't just want our projects to be a little checkbox on our timesheets. We want them to be so much more. So we break them down even further into tasks. And these task subtrees can be made as simple or as complex as you see fit. So you can make subtasks and sub-subtasks, or you can just have one task for each tree, whatever makes sense for your organization. But what is also very important here is each of these tasks will have an actual and estimate attached to it. So working from home can be difficult. You only see your progress. You can only see what's on the screen in front of you. And it's difficult to see the big picture. And you don't know how your other coworkers are doing and how far along in a project they are. So it can be kind of frustrating. You feel like you're on a treadmill. So what our goal with Replicon is to take everyone off that treadmill and get them moving forward. So by having these actuals and estimates, we can actually see how close to completion a specific task should be and how close it is. So take, for example, interviewing. Maybe we see 46 out of 50 hours, 92% finished, and that is in fact the case that we are closing off this task. We can start moving our time elsewhere, like maybe implementation, which has unfortunately ran 4 times our estimated amount of hours and is continuing to hemorrhage our time. So this is a good indicator that we need to get boots on the ground, close this task out so that we can start putting our time towards other tasks in this project and finish this up so we can move on to other money-making opportunities. On the flip side, this also allows us to understand where our strengths and weaknesses may lie. So if we are continually coming in under our budgeted estimated time for, say, user training, 125 hours is all we need, then in the future, we can start building down these estimates so we can start fitting more projects into the year. And on other tasks, such as implementation, if that is consistently a thorn in our side, well, we can start building in higher estimates so that we are not hemorrhaging time and running over our budgets with these tasks that are continually causing us grief. So this really does better allow us to understand strengths and weaknesses and allocate our time more accordingly. So far we have looked at the project structure within Replicon. Now we are going to need a team working on this project, and this is shockingly enough done in the Team tab. So our Team tab will give us an overview of every single person who is assigned to this project, but what it will also do is highlight the permission-driven nature of the Replicon platform. So let's take, for example, Tammy Benson. Tammy Benson, she's assigned to this project. Even though there are other projects in this program, she won't be able to see any of their information unless she has been given access to them. And on top of that, Tammy will only be able to see the project information that we give her permission to view. So one example of that would be billing rates. So billing rates can be added or subtracted at any given time. We can actually remove these if we're not using them anymore and we don't want people to log their time towards them. Or maybe one of these billing rates changes and we need to reflect that in real time. That can be all done with a couple clicks of the button. And from there, once everything is in order, we can actually assign these billing rates to our users. And these are the only billing rates that they will have access to. So when they're entering their time on the timesheet, they won't have access to any of those other billing rates. So we can be sure that every timesheet result is clean and accurate, and we're not causing confusion amongst our resources. And not only can we control what they see, but when they see it. So not only can we assign billing rates that can be entered, but as well as tasks, so we can really ensure that every single user knows exactly what they should be working on and when they should be working on it. And when that end date is closed out, we can have a better understanding of if we need a little bit more time or if things are moving along as they should be. And we can assign tasks or subtasks or those sub-subtasks. So again, you have full control over what every user in your Replicon instance can see. And we can take this even a step further with our permission sets. So every user within our organization can be assigned a permission set, and these will cover a host of different things, all the way from administration down to what we'll see with Stacy Olson, which is client representative. So Stacy Olson doesn't work for Replicon. She is one of our clients, but she still needs to approve time. And we know the struggle of trying to go back and forth with the client representative, trying to understand what is going on with his timesheet, why it hasn't been filled out yet, why it hasn't been approved. And plus you're having data offsite. That means it's going back and forth. It's not quite as secure. And there's a lot of things that can go when everything isn't stored in one central location. So by having Stacy Olson, giving her the ability to log into our Replicon, anytime there's a timesheet that needs approval, she'll get a push notification or email. She can go in a couple clicks, that timesheet can be approved. And we are really expediting this process for everyone involved. And on top of that, as you can see, Stacy Olson has a pretty bare bones Replicon instance. So all she can access is these timesheets. So we don't have to worry about Stacy accidentally stumbling upon any sensitive information. Stacy only has access to what she needs to see and nothing more and nothing less. So again, easy and efficient for every single person involved. And although knowing exactly who you have working on a team is very valuable, we can take that a step further. So I'm just going to hop back into our projects, and we want to know not only who is working, but how their hours have been allocated. And again, may come as a shock, but this is done in our allocation tab. And we can break down allocations based on a daily, weekly, and monthly, quarterly basis. And we will also be able to understand a couple of different things by the different color codes on these allocated hours. So in blue, we will have hours that are allocated to this project. In this gray here, we will have hours allocated to other projects. In this shade of green and not so green, but not so gray, I don't know what to call that, we will have our hours allocated to vacation and time off. And what we don't want to see, our arch nemesis, this little red triangle in the corner, those are hours allocated, or over allocated, I should say. And over allocation means overtime. And we all know overtime means increased costs, and that's what we want to avoid. So especially when we can see empty areas like this over here, we want to investigate a little bit further why this over allocation is happening, and we'll explore that very shortly. But first, one of my most pressing matters is I can see in September, we have nobody working on this project. That is no good. We really need to get things kickstarted. So I am going to go ahead and add a user to this project. And this can be daunting because right away we are given a page with every single user in this organization. We'll be able to understand their availability, but we need to find someone who fits the role perfectly. And Replicon makes this easy. So we have a ton of different parameters that you can sort through. In this instance, we need someone in North America. As much as having people wake up early or stay up late, might be fun. I know people like their beauty rest, so we're going to make sure we have the same time zone as our client. That narrows down our field a little bit, but we need someone with a very specific set of skills. We don't have Liam Neeson available. We do need a Sage Architect, though. And it looks like we have found the person to fit the bill, Alex Chu. But there will be instances where maybe we have more than one Sage Architect. We can actually assign rankings to these architects. So Alex Chu is our top person. He has the highest skill. He is used on our premium projects. He is our Sage. We want him working on all of our high dollar amounts. We can give Alex a 3-star rating. And maybe we have some more rookie Sage architects who are just getting into the game. We can assign them to kind of the lower dollar deals. We can give them a 1-star rating. So when we are searching through these different Sage architects, we know who will fit the role best each and every time. But in this instance, it looks like Alex Chu is going to be the person for the job. So Alex, you are on the team. And once we have added Alex onto our team, assigning his hours couldn't be easier. So we can assign a specific amount of hours per day, total hours per month, week, or day, depending on which view we're looking at. And finally, we can assign a percentage of his available hours. And now this is important because we all know the pitfalls of over-allocating our hours. Over-allocation, overtime, expensive. We want to avoid that, but there are also pitfalls to under-allocating. If we're under-allocating our resources, that means we're taking longer on projects. We're not spending all the time that we could be working towards completion. And that means we won't be able to fit as many projects into a year and therefore decrease our revenue. So we want to make sure we are profitable, and we want to make sure every single resource knows what they should be working on at any given time. So I don't know, allocating 100% of their available hours sounds good to me. They're not being stretched out too much and they know exactly what they should be working on. So we're going to go ahead and allocate Alex's hours. And once we've allocated his hours, this will update throughout the platform in real time. So those actuals and estimates that we saw previously will be updated as soon as we add these onto Alex's allocated hours. And if we want to understand this efficiency of allocation even further, we can take a look at our allocation in the past here. So even though we did have Replicon, maybe we weren't so on top of using our resources hours. And we can see a few instances here where our allocation has not been so stellar. 32 hours, 16 hours, 3 hours. Ugh. We have really not been taking advantage of our resources time. And maybe that's because we had resources that didn't fill a certain role, but we are able to understand that by looking at these allocated hours. And let's imagine we were maybe able to find, let's just say, 1 extra billable hour for a user every week for a year. So that's going to be on average, let's say 2 weeks off for vacation, so 50 extra billable hours per year. At a billing rate of $300 per hour, that's going to be $15,000 for 1 user just by finding 1 extra billable hour per week for that year. Now, if we stretch that across our whole organization of, let's say, 500 employees, that's going to be $7.5 million of extra billable hour dollars per year just by finding that 1 extra billable hour per week per user. And in this instance, we were able to find even greater inefficiencies. We could see 8 extra hours here, 24 extra hours, 26.8 extra hours. There are so many things that we can do to make our organization more efficient and in turn make our organization more profitable. And if we really want to dive down and understand this even further, we can take a look at our resources tab. So our resources tab will break down our allocation of these users over a specific period of time. So like I was saying before, maybe we are seeing that we have users that are consistently being over allocated, and this is not a good sign. That means we don't have enough users with that skill in our organization. So maybe we need to do some hiring or training. Or maybe in one example, we take a look and we saw there was a specifically bad week in a project with a specific user. We can drill down into our financial data reporting fixes and see October 13th, 2019, that week had a couple of users that were over allocated. So that could have increased our costs on that project spend for that week. So by having this tab, we can really understand how we can better utilize our resources and make sure we're not underutilizing, overutilizing, or missing key roles within our organization. But there will also be some instances when we don't know exactly who we are going to need on a project. Maybe we're still in the planning phases and we want to suss out everything, understand how much we're going to spend, how many users we're going to need. So for that, we have our placeholder resources. So just like a normal resource, these placeholder resources can have a cost, they can have a skill assigned to them, and we can start slotting them into those projects that we are planning. And once we start putting them into those projects, we'll be able to understand how much we should expect to cost. If this is exactly what we're looking for, then we can continue to plan along those lines or adjust things in real time. And then once we are ready to go and we understand, okay, we need to do some hiring or training and everything is ready and in place, we can actually just replace these placeholder resources with those actual resources. And we don't have to worry about any of our data being skewed or inaccurate because we have done all the calculations. We have already done the hard work. Replicon's done the work for us. So all we have to do, put those real resources in, and then they can start logging their time immediately, and that project is already in motion. So far we have looked at how projects are structured within Replicon and how we staff them. And now is the fun part. We get to log our time towards these projects. And we do call ourselves the Time Intelligence Company for a reason. Time is something we do so well. Within Replicon, there exists so many different permutations of timesheets that we could feasibly create a different timesheet for every single user in your organization. So the timesheet that you see before you right now is a little bit more of a project-oriented timesheet. So we can do things like log time towards specific programs, projects, and tasks. And if applicable, we can change our billing rate or activity. And when we are ready to go, we can start logging our time towards these projects. And just like everything else, there will be reverberations that we see directly on this page. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense that I picked the same project twice, so we'll just get rid of that one for now. But we can see as I was entering my time, this progress bar will be updated as we go. So again, we want to take our resources off that treadmill and we want to start them moving forward. And by understanding how far along they are on a specific project, we can hopefully avoid that continual hemorrhaging of time towards the same project that is not getting completed, or maybe that project task is completed and they don't know that. So by having these checks in place, we can ensure that everyone knows where they should be on a given task. And another way that we keep everyone moving forward is through target billable hours. Target billable hours allow us to set goals for every single resource that they can see very visibly and simply on their page. We can set these on an individual level as well as a company-wide level, but this allows us to understand how we are doing on our goals progress for a specific month. So maybe it is September, halfway through September, and I'm at 66 hours, so I'm not quite halfway to my goal target. This may warrant a conversation with my supervisor or manager, and together we can discuss how we can turn things around so I can meet my goal. Because taking proactive measure is so much better than waiting till the end of the month, me going to my manager and saying, surprise, I didn't meet my goal this month, what should I have done? Instead, we can have that conversation before the fact and help move everyone towards success instead of having to discuss about, no one wants to talk about not meeting their goals. Everyone wants to be successful. So we can help every single user in our organization by having these targets that are updated in real time. And I think I'm ready to go ahead and submit this timesheet. We could see, yeah, it was some pretty tough work this week, but that happens sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this for approval. And the first thing is I will get this attestation. Now, this is an example of validation rules within Replicon. Validation rules are certain parameters that must be met every single time a timesheet is submitted. And these parameters cover things like minimum hours entered, maximum hours entered, and maximum hours of overtime for a day, maximum overtime hours for a week, hours during a rolling period, mandatory break enforcement. We have over 40 different validation rules already built into Replicon, and we are always adding to our library, so you can ensure that your time being entered is clean and accurate. And there's a couple different results if I forget to enter one of these validation rules, if I am outside of the parameters. Here we can see, since I did not accept this attestation on the bottom, I will get a gentle reminder that I need to go ahead and accept and submit if I want my timesheet to go through. And we'll give Replicon a second to work its magic. We can see there's a couple errors popping up. Maybe my timesheet entry was not so nice. And yeah, so as we could see, I have a couple of errors. This has actually outright rejected my timesheet, and this is so important for a couple of reasons. One is we want to put the onus on the end user to enter their time accurately. We don't want incorrect timesheets because then fixing them causes even more problems and more inaccuracies because you may not remember what you did during that week. So we want to have everything updated in real time. And we can see our error for rejecting this timesheet right now is we have exceeded our estimated 150 hours and our estimated 70 hours on these specific tasks. So maybe we didn't have this validation rule in place when these tasks started, but we put it on this timesheet a little bit later. And now when this user tries to submit this timesheet, we will get rejected. Now we can change this threshold to say 150%, 200%, 300%, but when we meet that threshold, that timesheet will be rejected. And if I want to submit this, I will have to have a discussion with my supervisor or manager. And maybe they did not realize that this specific task was running so long and causing us so many problems. So again, we can take proactive measures and start fixing things before they get too dire and we are sinking too much time, as we have already, into this task. And if we want to better understand these timesheets even further, we can drill down even further in our billing tab. So our billing tab will actually house every single timesheet that has ever existed in the history of our organization. So here we can sort through all timesheets. We can see what has been submitted, what's waiting for approval, what's been approved, rejected. And this is really important in case we ever need to go back and access something in case of a dispute or an audit. And also, I will find this very useful as an approver in my waiting for approval tab. So unfortunately, I have been slightly slacking for maybe the past 2 months, and I have a ton of timesheets that need approval. So I can actually go ahead and batch approve or batch reject everything, but if I have any of these validation warnings popped up, that is a good indicator that I should drill down a little bit further and understand exactly what happened with this timesheet. So previously, we saw if we're outside of these validation rules that we will have that timesheet rejected. But in this instance, maybe the validation warning isn't as egregious as the previous one. So we still allow that timesheet to go through, but we do need to review it before anything is accepted or submitted. So in this instance, I'm going to see that Chris DeFonte has a little bit more of a basic timesheet. He's just simply entering his hours per day. And for some organizations, this is more than enough. But unfortunately, Chris has not entered his hours in our parameters, which is we only want 40 hours or less a week, and he's entered 50. So things are not correct. So there's a couple things I can do here. One, being his manager, I can go in, reopen his timesheet, and I can adjust his hours efficiently, but we all know the pain of trying to go back and forth. Chris, do I need to fix this? Yes. What needs to be changed? This to this? Just a waste of everyone's time and is so inefficient and, again, inaccurate. So what I can actually do is I can give Chris permission to reopen this timesheet on that given week. He can drill down, adjust anything as necessary. We can mandate that he has to leave a comment, and we'll be able to see a record of all these changes. And if this affects payroll, it will actually be all sent to the appropriate delta. And if we want to lock out any of these timesheet changes from after a pay period has been submitted, then we can do so. So again, Replicon is flexible in how we can account for our time and move everything around, but it is also very intelligent, so it can account for these changes automatically. And we will also see another instance of a timesheet here that has a couple of validation warnings, and that is with Kurt Jones. So let's drill down a little bit further and see what's going on with Kurt. So Kurt has a little bit more of a custom timesheet. So he's logging the hours that he worked during the day. He's also logging activity, task, and project, but Kurt does also have a couple of custom fields here, and one of those being comments. So again, right now with people working remotely, maybe from home or somewhere else, it is difficult to stay in touch with everyone on a daily basis, so we might not understand exactly how they are doing. So by having this comment field, we can see what their struggles are, where their successes are, and again, help them to do their job as good as they can. We want the best for every single one of our employees, because not only will that make them feel fulfilled, but it'll also, well, make our company successful, and that's what we all want in the end. So by having these comments, we can help each and every single employee do the best that they can. But we can only do that if they do, in fact, remember to enter these comments. Fortunately, Chris has neglected these comments every single day that he is, or sorry, not Chris, Kurt has neglected these comments every single day. So we're going to have a little discussion with him, remind him how important this is to our organization. And you know what, maybe Kurt forgets again next week. We can actually change this timesheet to reject this timesheet, so he is forced to enter these comments so that we are ensured that we are able to keep up with his everyday goings-on and just understand what's happening for Kurt. We also have another custom tab here, which is mileage, and this could say mileage, it could say units complete, it could be photo proof of the work done during the day. What we're trying to exemplify here is that not only can we have a different timesheet for every single user in our organization, but we can have a different timesheet for every single one of their working scenarios. So maybe there's some weeks where Kurt's going to be working from the office, Kurt's going to be working from home a different week, on the road another week, and maybe there will be some hybrid weeks where he's working from the office and from home. we can create a timesheet for every single one of these working scenarios, and we can ensure that Kurt's time entry is exactly what he needs it to be, regardless of where he is. And again, using our validation rules and permissions, make sure all this time is entered accurately and efficiently so he is encouraged to enter his time correctly. And we wanted this ease of use to transfer over to our mobile app. And that is why we built it from the ground up. So I'm just going to switch my screen here, and we're going to take a look at the Replicon app in action. So when we first log into our Replicon mobile, we will be greeted by Chatbot, and Chatbot is very useful. Chatbot can help us streamline processes. Chatbot can answer questions, but unfortunately, Chatbot, although you are looking very cute today, we don't have so much time for you. We'll have to cover you in another webinar. But today, we will be looking at timesheets. So Replicon does support multiple different formats of timesheets. So we do actually support punching in and punching out, which is many organizations' preferred way of clocking in and out. And here we can see I can also transfer to breaks. I can transfer my job. So maybe I'm working on a different project and client. I'll be able to do all of that within the Replicon mobile app. And when I am ready to go, I can clock out. Sorry, hello everyone. And we can also mandate that a photo must be taken. Again, this is all optional, so you can have this either turned on or turned off, but we can have a photo taken so that we know who is punching in and punching out, no buddy punching, and we can also set it up so that there is a geotag taken. So if I'm not working from home, you will be able to understand, okay, it looks like Curtis is working from the golf course, or Curtis is working from the restaurant, or why is Curtis clocking in from Jamaica? If I've taken an impromptu trip and didn't let anyone know, well, by having these geotags, you can understand that. And we can actually set up geofences as well. So if someone is supposed to be working from home, we can set up this geofence so that they can only clock in or out from home. But again, this is all optional. You can turn this on or off as you see fit. And if you're not so into the time punching, we also have traditional timesheets available on our mobile app, just like we saw on our desktop platform. I can log in and log time towards specific programs, projects, tasks, and everything is searchable. So if you're an organization with 100 different job codes, you don't have to stress because you will be able to track down everything easily using our permissions and our searchability. So again, you don't have to get frustrated trying to enter time, and you can ensure that everything is accurate and efficient. Once we have everything ready to go, I can enter my hours and I can add that to my timesheet for the day, and voila, we have our timesheet submitted. And when I'm ready to go to, we wanted this to be as easy as possible for not only the end user, but our approvers. So I will have access to this handy dashboard. So if there's any actions that need to be taken within Replicon, I will be sent a push notification or an email, and that's a good indicator that I need some stuff to do within my platform. So here we can see I have 114 timesheets for approval. Just for demonstration's sake, I will not refresh this page because I don't want to be inundated with all those timesheets. So we'll just keep it at 2 for now. But I can log into any of these timesheets and see exactly what Tammy Benson was up to. She's logged her 8 hours per day, Monday to Friday. Nothing looking too extraordinary, so we can go ahead and approve this timesheet. There's no validation rules that have been triggered. Everything is looking nice. But if we want to streamline this process even further, if we have these kind of business as usual timesheets, nothing triggered, we can actually set these timesheets to approve automatically. So Replicon does support these smart approval processes. And by having these timesheets approve automatically, not only do we have our validation rules to ensure that the time is clean and accurate, but think of how much time you are saving your administrators from having to go through a weekly timesheet for 50 users, 500 users, 5,000 users every week. By automating this process, you save administration time. And again, you could put that time towards your billable hours and your project time, which is so important. And maybe you still aren't really looking to use these automatic approval processes. Maybe you want a traditional process still, and that is possible within Replicon. You can set up single stage approval, 2-stage approval. If you want, you can do 13-stage approval. You can configure this platform to be whatever you need it to be at any given moment. So far, we have looked at how we plan our projects and how they are structured, how we staff them, and how we log their time towards them. And now we need to get paid for all the work we've done. And this is, again, shockingly enough, done in our billing tab. So our billing summary will allow us to understand exactly what is going on with the state of all of our billable hours within our organization. So here we can see what has been not invoiced, what has been drafted, issued, and paid. And when we're ready to invoice, if we have our own accounting program, we can actually sync up all these invoices and that will be sent over with a couple of clicks. But if we don't have our own accounting program, that is okay too. We can actually create all these invoices directly from the platform itself and issue them from Replicon. So all of these invoices will have a high amount of configurability to them. We can change logos, color schemes, layouts. You can have whatever you need visible at any given moment in time. And these can also be updated in real time. So maybe a specific task was running a little long. We can update this invoice to reflect that. We can also add line items, discounts. So again, we can make these exactly what we need them to be. And from there, when we are ready to go, we can email this invoice out directly, and we can change the status of this invoice on this page here. So again, we will always be up to date with every single billable hour that is going on within our organization. So we have planned our projects, staffed them, logged our time towards them, and got paid for them. We have been building so much information into our platform, and we need ways to understand what this means for our company. So there are a couple of ways that we can do this within Replicon. And one of those is our dashboards. So like you saw before, dashboards are the living, breathing culmination of all the data we have input into our system. These are updated real time, and they give us a host of information on things like billables, hours, and we can tweak these so we can have them show whatever we need them to show. We can add as many of these dashboards to this page as we see fit, and they are perfect for exporting into slideshows or presentations for leadership. And if there is a dashboard in particular that piques my interest, I can drill down a little bit further. I will be given all the raw data behind that project. And if I want to find out even more, I can drill down even further and see who is logging our billables on this project in particular. So in this instance, we can see Tammy Benson, good work, logging a ton of billables. And I'm sure Michael Lear, Gabby Mason, and Richard Anderson are logging just as much time, just probably on other projects. But what this allowed us to do is identify any outliers and make adjustments or give kudos where they are deserved. Another way we display all of your information to you is through reports, and I am sure you have seen a report or 3 or 30,000 in your history, and that is because they are so important. They give us all the hardline information behind our organization. So we can have these reports scheduled to run daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. These reports are kind of our most recommended, requested projects by our customers, but by no means is this an exhaustive list. These can all be tweaked and updated, and we can have them run whenever we need to with anyone with an email address, or we can run them on the spot. So one example of this would be our project profitability analysis. And here we get a breakdown of our project contract value, our estimated cost and billing, our actual cost and billing, smush all these metrics together, and we will get our expected profitability and our actual profitability. And if we are finding that these two metrics aren't quite lining up, we will get a not so gentle alert on the right-hand side of our screen here. And again, this is giving us proactive measure to start fixing projects before things get too dire and understanding in real time what is going on within our organization. And finally, we do understand that Replicon may or may not be the only piece of your organization's ecosystem, but regardless of what the situation is, we want our information to interact well with everything else going on in your ecosystem. So for that, we have connectors to BI tools like Tableau, Google BigQuery, and Power BI. And all you have to do to display your information like you see here is download one of our sample workbooks, log in through your instance connector, which is basically just logging into your instance, and you will have all of your information displayed just like you see here in real time. So not only can we help you capture every hour within your organization, but we can transform it and display it in a way that will allow you to make the best decisions for your organization. So that is going to bring me to the end of our demo. I'm just actually going to hop back into our PowerPoint. We're going to have a quick review of everything we saw today, look at a couple of customer examples of transformations that have happened with the Replicon platform, and finally, we will move into the Q&A session. So today we saw that Replicon can do so much, and we only just scratched the surface of what Replicon is capable of. We can help you decrease revenue leakages, increase resource utilization, decrease administrative overhead. The list goes on. What we are trying to really say is that Replicon gives you one source of truth for all of your time needs. And this is so important for everyone in your organization so they can pull this information. They don't have to worry about accuracy, and they can use it as they need it efficiently, effectively, and really use it as a way to benefit your organization. And we can see that in a couple examples here. So we did have a 300 employee consulting firm, and they gasped, I know it's terrifying to think about, used manual spreadsheets and homegrown systems, and they were not flexible at all. This made it difficult to manage their cash flows, made billing an utter nightmare, and this affected their profitability. After implementing Replicon, they had accurate and consistent data collection, improved resource management, better staffing, faster and accurate billing, all because they had one source of truth for all of their time information. Another example would be our 800 employee computer software company. Now, they had an on-premises system that worked when they were just fledgling and starting out, but as they grew, it was difficult to scale, and this made data keeping cumbersome, and this really did limit to their insight, and they spent a lot more time trying to track their information than doing the work that they needed to do. So after implementing Replicon, they had spent less time tracking and more time working, and this improved their forecasting, and it created a centralized solution, and this robust reporting has provided meaningful data to everyone in their organization. So as we saw today, Replicon is a comprehensive suite that covers all of your time management needs, including time and billing, which we covered today, project time and costing, project resource management, the list goes on. And if you have any questions about anything you saw today or anything you would like to see, you can always drop me an email. My name is Curtis Dohaniak, and my email is curtis.dohaniak@replicon.com. Little bit of a tongue twister, so it might be useful to copy down from the slide here, but you can always drop me a line, and if I can't answer your question, I can point you in the right direction. So maybe a little bit later, you're grabbing a coffee, and for some reason, Replicon pops into your brain. Feel free to. My name was Curtis Dohaniak. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I do really appreciate your time, and I hope you are all staying happy, staying healthy, and taking care of yourself, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks again.